San Francisco currently has a population of about 815,000. However, that number has been falling in recent years, and the city has been shrinking. Between 2020 and 2021, for instance, San Francisco's population dropped 6.8%. While this has steadied off slightly between 2021 and 2022, it still decreased 0.3% that year. So why is this the case? After all, throughout its history, San Francisco has often drawn residents to it, not the other way around. Think only of the flood of people who moved to San Francisco during the gold rush of the 1800s or the tech boom in recent years. Well, today on Across the Globe, we're going to be looking at the reasons why San Francisco is losing residents. Number 1, shift to remote work. Did you know that the percentage of San Francisco jobs in tech increased from 3.6% in 2006 to 18.7% in 2021? Furthermore, in terms of payroll, tech increased from 5.4% of payroll in this city in 2006 to 32.8% in 2021. I know what you're thinking. What does this have to do with San Francisco's population decline? Well, San Francisco has become saturated with those who work in tech. And when the pandemic hit, tech was an industry that, relative to other industries like hospitality or medicine, was easily able to pivot to remote work. This trend has continued. As of 2022, there was a 35% drop in San Francisco's tech worker inflow to outflow ratio, or the number of people working in tech moving to San Francisco versus leaving it. And it doesn't seem like things are going to change. Currently, 48% of tech workers across the United States are still working completely remote, compared to 22% before the pandemic. Number 2, company exodus. It's not just tech workers who are leaving San Francisco. There's been a massive exodus in tech companies downsizing or even leaving the city altogether. As you can imagine, this in turn has led to committed employees following their employers out of San Francisco. Fewer employees moving to San Francisco in pursuit of tech jobs in the first place, and more people able to work from another city or state. The number of companies leaving or downsizing hasn't been insignificant. 63% of tech companies downsized their offices in San Francisco in recent years, leading to a 21.8% vacancy rate in San Francisco's downtown tech offices. Of those companies who downsized, only 14.6% of them said that their workers would be working fully in person, with the majority citing a hybrid or fully remote work plan. Some of the companies downsizing their San Francisco presence include massive companies like Airbnb, Ancestry, Credit Karma, and PayPal. Of the companies that have left the Bay Area altogether, the most prominent may be Tesla, which Elon Musk relocated to Texas. Finally, some companies like Slack are switching to remote work first, and thus are removing their physical presence in the Bay Area nearly entirely. Number 3, cost of living. We're going to get into the cost of housing in a little bit because that topic is big enough that it deserves its own section. But for now, let's just talk broadly about the cost of living in San Francisco. San Francisco was recently ranked the 8th most expensive city to live in the world and the 3rd most expensive city in the US. For instance, according to Best Places, the cost of living in San Francisco was given a score of 244 compared to the US average of 100. The median household income here is $119,000, way above the median household income across the entire US, which is about $70,000. Number 4, homelessness. You might be surprised to learn that San Francisco actually does not have the highest per capita homeless population in the US, despite what's often depicted in the media. In fact, Phoenix, Seattle, New York, and Los Angeles all have higher per capita rates of homelessness. However, that doesn't mean that homelessness isn't a problem here at all. San Francisco is still rated pretty high in terms of homelessness, at the 9th highest in the nation. And San Franciscans certainly see this as a problem, even stating that they believe it's the biggest issue facing their city today. According to data from the San Franciscan government, the number of people who experienced homelessness in the city on any given night is about 7,754 as of 2022. This is down from 2019, when the number was 8,035, but significantly higher than previous years. For instance, in 2005, the number of people experiencing homelessness on any given night was about 5,000. Number 5. Housing costs. As I mentioned earlier, the median home price in San Francisco is about $1.2 million, and the median monthly rent is about $2,000. The median home price across the entire U.S., meanwhile, is only about $429,000. According to data from Kiplinger, this means that in San Francisco, the cost of housing is 232% higher than the U.S. average, making it the third most expensive city to buy in, with only Honolulu and Manhattan ranking higher. Furthermore, a whopping half of the homes in this city are over $1.2 million, and the average principal and interest payments on mortgages are $5,786 per month, which is 3.5 times the U.S. average. When it comes to renting, things don't get much better. While the median rent may be about $2,000, the average is higher, at about $3,765 per month, which is over 3 times the national average. Number 6. Shifting downtown. As I said at the beginning of this video, there are tons of vacant office spaces in San Francisco. Many of these are in the city's downtown. While San Francisco's downtown used to feel like a bustling metropolis, especially with the influx of workers during the week, now it feels kinda dead. In fact, San Francisco has one of the emptiest downtowns in America, with office buildings only at about 40% of their pre-pandemic occupancy levels. Meanwhile, the vacancy rate for downtown offices is 24% compared to 5% in 2019. The result of this is that the number of people working in offices downtown are at about 50% of what they were pre-pandemic. This has also led to businesses like restaurants and coffee shops shutting down because they don't have the number of office workers needed to patronize them. All this to say that downtown San Francisco is not the city people once knew, and the shifting feel of the city may be yet another factor driving people away. Number 7. Increasingly severe weather. The data doesn't lie. San Francisco is getting hotter. The highest recorded temperature, for instance, happened only a few short years ago in September of 2017, when the mercury hit 106 degrees Fahrenheit. This wasn't an isolated incident. Summers overall are getting hotter. But it's not just heat that's changing in San Francisco. This year, the city saw the most rain in a decade, leading to mudslides, flooding, and fallen trees. Altogether, the damage by the rains this year are estimated to have caused over $30 billion in damages, including those seen in San Francisco. Number 8. Income inequality. San Francisco has the third highest income inequality gap according to the San Francisco Chronicle, with a score of 10.9. This is third after only New York and Chicago, which have income gaps of 11.5 and 11.2 respectively. And while that's looking at things on a national level, when you look at the state level, the Bay Area has the highest income inequality out of any other city in California. For instance, in 2020, the bottom 10% were earning about $15,000 annually, while the top 10% were earning $534,000 annually. That's a huge disparity. Number 9. Taxes. As you probably know, high taxes in California are causing some people to leave the state entirely. And while California is estimated to have the 12th highest tax burden in the nation, according to factors like property tax, income tax, and total sales and excise tax, things are particularly high in San Francisco. For instance, San Francisco County pays the second highest in state and local taxes out of any other place in the country. with New York City unsurprisingly being the highest. This amounts to an average of $10,000 in state and local taxes. Businesses in San Francisco are also faced with high taxes, with this city having one of the highest corporate income and sales tax rates in the entire US. Number 10. Crime. While its violent crime rate is pretty low, San Francisco has the highest rate of property crime in the entire state of California. Most of this is larceny and car break-ins. Like elsewhere in the country, San Francisco saw rates of crime increase during the pandemic. In 2021, for instance, property crime increased by 16.9%, resulting in a property crime rate of 2,718 per 100,000 residents. While it's not totally clear why this is, some of this may be able to be explained by the high number of tourists the city sees, according to reporting by the LA Times. Whatever the reason, though, the fact remains that property crime rates are high. What about the 10 cities people are leaving? Watch this video to learn about that.